Morning, Anne.
And good morning, Christy. I assume you'll be using the room audio today, correct?
What do you
Or
mean?
are you in your own office, not in the
I'm in
not
my
in the
own
hearing room?
office.
Okay. Let me call you on Teams real quick.
Okay.
Good morning. Welcome to the Physician Assistant Board meeting. We will begin at 8:30. Thank you very much. And good morning to Sandra from AAPA. If you'd like, we can do a quick mic check. I sent you a request to unmute your mic.
Good morning. Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you fine. And when we get to your item, I'll go ahead and promote you to an attendee, or I mean to a panelist. And at that point, if you choose to use your camera, you may.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
All right, let's try that again. Good morning. This is Board President Vasco Dion Kidd of the California Physician Assistant Board. I'd like to call the meeting to order, and I think time is, what is it, 8:33 on February 23rd, 2026. Ms. Herr, will you please call the roll, please?
Good morning. Juan Armenta, Eric Bergensen,
Present.
Philip DeVizio,
Present.
Diego Insunza,
Present.
Vasco Diankid,
Present.
Bhavna Prakash,
Present.
Deborah Snow,
Present.
Viling Sai. Thank you.
All right, we have a quorum. Thank you very much. The first item on the agenda is the consideration and approval of the November 17, 2025 board minutes. I trust that everyone has had an opportunity to review those minutes. Are there any additions or corrections from the board members? All right, hearing none, do we have any comments from the floor? Hearing none, do we have any public comment from WebEx participants, if there are any?
This is the moderator. If anyone would like to make a comment, you may look for the hand icon, typically at the bottom of your WebEx screen. Or if you're logged in on a mobile device, that hand icon might be behind the 3-dot other options. And each speaker will have 3 minutes with a 30-second warning. Are there any comments on the minutes or the motion? I do not see any requests. I'll turn the meeting back to you, Chair.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. Is there a motion to approve the November 17th, 2025 board minutes?
So moved.
All right, is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. Do we have any public comments on the floor? Hearing none, are there any public comments on WebEx?
And this is the moderator. If anyone would like to make a comment, you may look for the hand icon, click that. And my correction is each speaker will have 5 minutes with a 30-second warning. Any comments on the motion? I do not see any. I'll turn the meeting back to you.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. Ms. Herr, will you please call the roll for the vote?
Juan Armenta, Eric Bergensen,
Aye.
Philip DeVizio,
Aye.
Diego Insunza,
Aye.
Vasco Diankid,
Aye.
Bhavna Prakash,
Aye.
Deborah Snow.
Aye.
Thank you so much. The motion is approved. We are moving on to agenda item number 4, public comment on items not on the agenda. Please note the board may not discuss or take any action or on any matter raised during this public comment section that is not included on this agenda, except to decide whether to place the matter on the agenda for a future meeting. Are there any comments by board members? Are there any public comment from the room? Madam Moderator, are there any public comments from WebEx participants, if we have any?
We do have one. And if you would like to make a comment on an item that is not on the agenda already, you may look for the hand icon and click that to raise your hand. Are there any comments for items that are not on the agenda? I do not see any raised hands. I'll turn the meeting back to you.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. We are going to go out of order to address agenda item number 9, budget update by DCA budget analyst, and then we will circle back to item number 5, which is the president's report.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Andrew Trudy, and I'm a budget analyst with the DCA Budget Office. I'm here alongside Suzanne Balkas, Budget Manager. We want to thank the board and the executive staff for allowing us time to present the board's expenditure and revenue projections, as well as the fund condition statement. Please refer to pages 42 to 46 or agenda item 9 of the packet, in which the first 2 pages are the board's expenditure projections. We are presenting 2 separate FM6 fiscal month 6 expenditures, one as they stand now, and the second with the Attorney General and HQIU budget augmentation requests added. We are estimated $1.504 million in personnel services and about $2.481 million in OE&E expenses, for a total of about $3.935 million, which has created a surplus of about $2,000 or under 1%. We are monitoring the fund and have been taking action to present the board's solvency. Budget Office will continue to monitor these expenditures and report back to the board with monthly expenditure projections as future fiscal months close. Next page is the revenue projections. We have an end of year projection of $3.517 million against a estimated revenue of $3.388 million. We have no concerns about revenue, but we'll continue to monitor and update the board with monthly projection reports. Next page is the fund condition statement. Fund condition gives you a 4-year view of the board's fund, and I'll speak to each section, top to bottom and left to right. The first column includes prior year actuals, 24-25 adjusted beginning balance of about $3.9 million, collected approximately $3.26 million in revenue, and total expenditure of $3.62 million. That gives a fund balance of about $3.53 million or 10.2 months in reserve. Next is the second column, current year, which is 25-26, which includes FM6 projections with the AG and enforcement augmentations. The board has a beginning balance of about $3.53 million. Board projects an estimate of $3.5 million in revenue and $4.2 million in total expenditures. The board currently has a fund balance of about $2.9 million, which gives you about 8.1 months in reserve. In the next 3 columns, we have the 26-27 budget year, BY, through 27-28 budget year +1 projections. These projections are based on the governor's budget, except for the income from surplus, which is formula driven. A few things to note on the board's funds condition. Fund condition is a snapshot in time and thus only a reflection of the data used in its creation. One of the main factors driving expenditure increases in future years is a result of personal service adjustments. These include general salary increases, or GSI, as well as employee compensation and retirement rate adjustments. The Budget Office includes an ongoing 3% increase to expenditures on the fund condition statement to account for these ongoing incremental adjustments. The fund condition does not include increased enforcement expenditures, which could create additional cost pressure to the board's fund in out years. The Budget Office will continue to work with the board on any future resource needs. Months in reserve will go down in out years as we project revenues to remain constant and expenditures to increase by the 3% mentioned previously. AG and HQIU is an estimate and could change if actuals and projected change. And lastly, we would like to note to the board that any future legislation or unanticipated events could result in the board's need for additional resources, which would increase pressure on the fund. The Budget Office will continue to monitor the board's fund condition statement and keep the line of communication with the board's executive staff open for any future needs or expectations. That concludes our presentation, and we are happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Thank you for that great presentation. We really appreciate that. So it looks like we're fairly healthy. We have good months in reserve. I think you said, was it 10.2 months in reserve? Which is great. I think that's up from last year. When I looked at it, it was 7.8 months in reserve. So we are trending up in a good direction. Are there any comments from board members? Also would like to acknowledge Rosanna's and her staff on keeping us fiscally responsible. So that's important, and making sure that we keep our finger on the pulse on that. So thank you again for your presentation. Are there any public comments from the room? Hearing none, are there any public comments on WebEx?
This is the moderator. If anyone would like to make a comment on the budget report, you may look for the hand icon, typically at the bottom of your WebEx screen, or if you're on a mobile device, it may be behind the 3-dot other options. Each speaker will have 5 minutes with a 30-second warning. Any comments on the budget report? I do not see any requests for comment. I'll turn the meeting back to you.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. Thank you so much for your presentation. We will move on to agenda item number 5, which is the President's report. I meet regularly with the Vice President and the Executive Officer to discuss strategic and emerging issues, and I greatly value their insight and perspective. One issue that we've been closely monitoring in a recent federal regulatory development that could have significant implications for PA education nationwide. On January 30th, 2026, the U.S. Department of Education issued a notice of proposed rulemaking that would narrow the federal definition of a professional student for determining annual loan limits under the Direct Loan Program. Historically, professional student designation applied to programs requiring graduate-level coursework, extensive clinical and practical training, and leading directly to licensure, which is essentially what the PA profession is all about. The proposed rule replaces this broader function-based definition with a fixed list of 11 disciplines. For example, medicine, law, and dentistry would apply. Programs not explicitly listed would be treated as a standard graduate program, i.e. physician assistant programs, nursing programs, along with other rigorous healthcare professional programs, are excluded despite meeting traditional criteria for professional designation. This represents a significant policy shift with potential consequences for student funding, program enrollment, and workforce development. If finalized, PA students would be limited to $20,500 per year in federal loans beginning July 1st of 26, instead of the $50,000 annual limit intended for professional programs under the One Big Beautiful Bill Act. The funding gap could force students to rely on private loans with higher interest rates, delay enrollment, or reconsider entering the profession. Rural, economically disadvantaged, and underrepresented students would be disproportionately affected at a time of persistent healthcare workforce shortages. Restricting loan access for PA students could constrain the pipeline and create enrollment instability. In response, the Professional Student Degree Act, H.R. 1618, has been introduced to explicitly include PAs and other healthcare practitioners in the statutory definition of professional degree. While this legislation would resolve the issue, it has not yet advanced. Meanwhile, the proposed rule is in the public comment period, and national PA organizations are actively mobilizing advocacy efforts. The outcome could materially affect student access, program stability, and long-term workforce supply in the state of California. This will conclude my report. Are there any comments from the board related to the President's report? Are there any public comments on the floor? Yes. The microphone on, yeah. Oh, it is. You have to hit the green button, yeah.
Sorry about that.
Yeah.
Now it's fully green, fully green. There we go. Sorry, I'm good at practicing medicine. I'm not good at technology. What can I tell you? So my name is Sonny Klein, and I'm the president of California Association of PAs currently. And I just wanted you to know what we're doing as an organization. I personally have called the Secretary of Education twice. I intend to continue to call. I have talked with Todd Pickard, who is the AAPA president as well. They have had more than 82 meetings with congressmen in Washington, D.C. We, on the California website for CAPA, have published 2 links, one through PAEA and one through AAPA, where PAs in California can send their comments as well as a petitionary letter requesting this be changed. We are, of course, working hard. The schools, I meet quarterly with all of our schools, the program directors of the 20 schools we have established in trying to solve problems on the ground as quickly as possible. But it is a pending serious concern. But I just wanted you to know as a board what we are doing on the advocacy side at CAPA to try to combat this issue and try to overcome this issue. So if you have any questions for me, I'm happy to answer them. Any questions? Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Are there any public comments on WebEx?
This is the moderator. If anyone would like to make a comment on the report, you may look for the hand icon, typically at the bottom of your WebEx screen. If you're on a mobile device, that hand icon might be behind the three-dot other options. And if you are a call-in user, you may press *3 to raise your hand. Are there any comments on the report? I do not see any raised hands. I will turn the meeting back to you.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. All right, we are now moving over to agenda item number 6, the Executive Officer's Report. Ms. Khan.
Everyone. The board currently has 2 vacancies, one enforcement analyst position due to retirement and an office technician position effective January 2026 following Angela Au's acceptance of a promotional opportunity with the Department of Motor Vehicles. We extend our sincere gratitude to Ms. Au for the dedication, hard work, and valuable contribution to the board, and we wish her continued success in her new role. Recruitment efforts are underway to fill both vacant positions. In the interim, I would like to thank board staff for their flexibility, teamwork, and willingness to take on additional responsibilities to ensure continuity of operations during this transition period. Their support has been greatly appreciated. Additionally, the board received notification from the governor's office that board member Ed Perez resigned effective January 22nd, 2026. The governor's office is in the process of seeking a new appointment to fill this vacancy, and board staff will provide support as needed throughout the appointment process. Lastly is outreach. On January 28, 2026, the board published the winter 2026 edition of its biannual Insider newsletter. This interactive communication tool is designed to keep applicants, licensees, and consumers informed by highlighting important updates, reminders, and other relevant board-related information. Lastly, as the board is aware, due to the current budget deficits, the board has paused participation in outreach activities. This includes non-essential travel, both in-state and out-of-state, such as attendance at seminars, conferences, and trainings. During this period, only travel necessary to conduct official state business will be permitted. That concludes my report. I will take any questions.
If I may, I just want to thank Ed Perez for his service on the board. Although short, we're happy that he was able to join us for a short period of time, and we wish him all the best.
Yeah, I just want to echo that, as well as Ed Perez's previous public service.
Are there any public comments from the floor regarding the Executive Officer's report? Hearing none, are there any public comments on WebEx?
This is the moderator. If anyone has a comment on the Executive Officer report, you may look for the hand icon and click that to raise your hand. The hand icon might be behind that three-dot other options if you happen to be on a mobile device. Each speaker will have 5 minutes with a 30-second warning. Instructions are on the screen. If anyone would like to make a comment, please raise your hand. I do not see any requests for comment. I'll turn the meeting back to you.
Thank you so much. Moving on to agenda item number 7, board activity reports. I will start with licensing. Ms. Jimenez. Good morning.
Good morning. I'm Jennifer Jimenez, the licensing analyst, and I will be providing the licensing activity report today. First report is the licensing population by type. This report breaks down the different license types and statuses the board has. As of February 9th, 2026, the board has a total of 29,477 licensees, of which 20,015 are current and 5 are temporary. These are individuals that can practice medicine. The next report is the summary of licensing activity. Between October 1st through December 31st of 2025, the board received 526 regular applications and 2 temporary applications. And during this quarter, 493 regular PA licenses and 1 temporary PA license were issued, and 2,214 individuals renewed their license. The next, pending application workload. This report gives an idea of how many applications are in the system and where they're at in the process. The desk age reports the number of days that the applications have been assigned to a staff member. The application age reports the number of days since the submission of the application and the application fees. At this time of the report, there were a total of 435 pending applications, 433 regular, and 2 temporary. The licensing performance measures. The board has an internal target goal of completing an initial review of applications within 30 days and of receiving the application and payment. During this quarter, the board's processing time for complete applications is 28 days. This means during the initial review of the application is complete and ready for licensure. For incomplete applications, it's 68 days, and that means that there were deficiencies. This concludes the licensing activity report. Are there any questions?
Yeah, so thank you so much for that report. So just to make sure I heard you right, there's 29,000 licensees in the state of California?
29,477
Wow,
current as of February 9th.
that is awesome.
Mhm.
All right. Well, just to make sure my ears were working, so. I appreciate that. Thank you so much. Any comments from the board members? Any comments from the floor? All right, we are going to move on with complaints.
Excuse me, would you like to take comments from WebEx?
Yes, please.
Thank you. This is the moderator. If anyone would like to make a comment on the licensing report, you may look for the hand icon and click that to raise your hand. Each speaker will have 5 minutes with a 30-second warning. If you are a call-in user, you may press *3 to raise your hand. Are there any comments on the licensing report? I do not see any requests for comment. I'll turn the meeting back to you, Chair.
Thank you so much. Complaints? Ms. Ronald?
Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm Linda Serrano, and I'm your complaint enforcement analyst. I'm going to give you the statistics of the report. So I will be providing you a section of the enforcement activity report in regards to the complaints for the second quarter. We will be focusing on the second quarter, which is October 1st, 2025 through December 31st, 2025. As you can see, we have also provided stats from the previous year. This report will also show how we are trending this fiscal year compared to last fiscal year. So for complaints, we have received a total of 173. Convictions and arrests, we've received 11, for a total of 184. For the intake, the average are 7 days, and we currently have 0 complaints that are pending at the intake. As far as complaints and investigations, 35 complaints were referred for investigation, 186 complaints and investigations closed, 402 complaints are pending at desk analyst, 78 investigations are pending at the field. Investigation aging, the average age of pending investigations are 241 days. Investigations over 8 months, we have 43 cases. And we have provided a chart, and the following chart is on the complaints received by type and source. And this concludes my portion of reports. Thank you. Any questions?
Thank you so much for that report. Are there any questions from board members?
Yes, I do. Thank you. Do the complaints seem fairly static? I mean, we're getting the same amount every year, year upon year. Does it look about right? There's no wild swings. Is that right?
And there's no wild swings. We've noticed an uptick on complaints. We've been receiving more complaints. But other than that, we've been pretty stable.
Okay.
Mhm.
And do you internally classify complaints by any type of severity system at all?
We do. There's we classify them, yes.
And that's not in this chart, right?
No, that is
So
not on this chart.
Okay, so take me through just a 30,000-foot view.
Mhm.
How are they classified and what do you do?
Okay. Oh, they're classified by negligence. They're classified by if there's conduct, the egregiousness of them, like patient death, and if stuff that is for fraud, um, stuff that is non-jurisdiction. We also classify anything that's non-jurisdiction, anything that gets referred out. So those are pretty much the biggest one is negligence and or quality of care. So for quality of care and then physician conduct as well. Mhm.
Let me ask you this question. Are those complaints globally in any way correlated to malpractice judgments?
Some, because we do receive the 801s. So, and those are also classified.
Okay.
Hmm.
But you don't do a statistical analysis of how many complaints necessarily result in a malpractice judgment, do you?
I believe we can.
But we haven't done that.
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay.
Hmm.
And they're not linked to actual malpractice cases filed, right? Because you don't have that information.
No, only what we receive.
Right. So if somebody files a malpractice case,
Mhm.
and it ends up being dismissed, you wouldn't know about it.
No, or if it was less than $30,000, we wouldn't know about it.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
And just to comment on that, I think some of that is probably captured in the National Practitioner Database.
Hmm.
Is that correct?
That's
Yeah.
correct.
Yeah, I just wanted to add, if you look at the second chart, that gives you complaints by type and source. And if you see BNP code section reporting, which encompasses 800 reporting, that's where you'll see, sorry, my screen's a little blurry. Oh, sorry, it's number 8, government agency. Those are the reportings, anything $30,000 and up that we get reported and we open a complaint on, or malpractice judgments.
Right, but that has to be a judgment, right? So, as somebody who has done medical malpractice cases in the past, don't throw darts at me, doctor. I don't do them anymore. I haven't for many years because of their difficulty and expense. It is highly technical. It is extraordinarily expensive. And even if you get close to a malpractice claim, um, uh, it's an iffy one. Most uh, uh, medical malpractice practitioners won't take them because of the expense and how juries feel about those types of things. So, is that somebody's phone or they're throttling me? Okay. So there is very little correlation, in my view, between the filing of a complaint, which an initial impression might have some depth to it, some gravitas to it, and then ultimately the expense of the claim somewhere down the road becomes, or the iffiness of it, and the jury presentation results in a situation where it never matures to a judgment or a settlement. So that's where I'm just wanting to see how loose we were, and apparently we're not tracking. We don't have the ability to track what's filed, right?
Well, yes. For the judgments, those are separate. A complainant can file a complaint.
No, I mean
for the
I mean
same
a,
thing that they're
a
filing
lawsuit.
or the lawsuit. Yes.
Yeah, we have no way of tracking that.
No, unless once we get reported through the national data.
Exactly. Thank you.
All right. Are there any other comments from board members? All right. Hearing none, we're going to move to discipline. And what I'm going to do is go through items C and E, and then I'm going to ask for public comments from the floor and WebEx. So Ms. Serrano, you also have discipline.
Good morning again. So the discipline report, this report again will cover the second quarter of the fiscal year of 2025, which is from October 1st of 2025 through December 31st. So I will start with the suspensions. In this quarter, one cease practice order was issued. For the Attorney General transmittal, 16 cases were transmitted to the AGs. There are currently 40 cases pending at the Attorney General's and the average age of the pending cases is 227 days. For the formal accusations filed, withdrawn, or dismissed, we've had 5 accusations that were filed, 1 accusation was withdrawn, and 1 statement of issue was filed. For administrative outcomes or final order, during this quarter, 1 licensee was placed on probation, 1 public reproval was issued, 1 license was surrendered, and 1 petition for reinstatement was denied. For citation and fine, during this quarter, 4 citations were resolved. There are currently 43 pending citation cases, and the fine received were $750. That concludes this report.
Thank you, Ms. Serrano. Any questions from board members? Yes, Dr. Saad.
I have a question on the average age of pending cases. Last year, 2024 to 2025 was 400, and this year it's trending around 270. Any insight as to why that went down? Is there staffing is improved, or because we have this problem at the medical board all the time where the average age is humongous, and I'm trying to get some insight on how you guys are doing it.
Teamwork.
Yeah. We have a pretty good staff here, Dr. Saad, but we're not going to lend them out to the medical board.
A lot of it's teamwork. It really is, and working together and just really keeping focus on timeframes.
All right. Thank you. Any additional comments or questions from board members? All right. Thank you, Ms. Serrano. Really appreciate your report. Ms. Gerard, probation, item number D. Good morning.
Morning, sir. It's good to be here.
Yeah.
If Mono could silence his phone during my report, I'd really appreciate it. In the quarter, we had 1 person enter probation and 1 person complete it.
Excuse me, if you could use your microphone.
Okay.
Thank
My
you.
apologies. For that quarter, we had 1 person enter probation, 1 person completed it, and 2 people went from active probation into tolling, which, as we know, means that they're not practicing in California and their time does not add towards the completion of probation. And that concludes my report, sir.
Thank you. Any questions from board members? Hearing none, we're going to go ahead and move on to diversion. Ms. Gerard.
Yes, sir. We had really no activity. We began with 5 participants and we ended with 5 participants in diversion. And that concludes my report.
Well, thank you so much for that brief report, and that's a good thing. Are there any comments from or questions from board members?
I do have a question.
Yes.
However, I need to roll the clock back a little bit. This pertains to the licensing report. If there's a way we can go back and address that, because I noticed something there that I wanted to bring up.
We can. We'll probably have to bring up Ms. Serrano for that.
That'd be Jennifer.
Yeah, licensing, Jennifer. Oh, is that? Yeah. Okay. Go ahead.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you for your report. I was going back over the numbers, and it was mentioned that we have 29,000 PAs currently licensed, but it looks like 8,000 to 9,000 of them are no longer active licenses under item D and CD, which are delinquent and canceled. So I understand the N there is 29,000, but I think for active licenses, we're probably closer to 20,000 PAs, not 29. And I think that at the moment it was mentioned that we have 29,000 PAs in the state currently. I just wanted to clarify that and make sure I'm understanding this correctly.
I think that's a great point because I think we've reported in the past, right, 19,000 and then 20,000, I think, in the previous meeting. So just want to make sure that we're not counting 9,000.
You said canceled and
Delinquent.
Hi, this is Christy from WebEx.
So that is correct. 29,015 are current. So, and then there's current inactive, there's 38. So these are the licensees that are able to practice. We have 3,000 that's delinquent and 5,800 are canceled. So these licenses are not able to practice.
So just to be clear, Christy, so just to make sure that we're all good with the numbers. So we have 29,000 licensees, which is small component that is able to, because that's a big difference between the 20,000 we reported, I think, last year. And given the current enrollment projections and folks entering the workforce. So we do have 29,000, just to clarify that number.
So we have 29,477 total licenses, PA licenses, but of the 29,000, 3,000 plus did not renew their license, so they went into delinquent status. So when they're in delinquent status, they can't practice as a PA in California. And 5,800 licenses end up canceling, and that is because once your license is delinquent, after 5 years of delinquent status, it goes into cancel status. So in order for these PAs to practice in California again, they would have to reapply as a new applicant. So although our total is 29,000, but as far as PAs that can practice in California, it's only 20,000 because
So
the
that's a great
licenses are-
distinction. So those that can actively, to Phil's point, actively practice is 20,000. Although
Yes.
there's 9,000 that could, if they renewed their license, would be a part of the workforce. So,
Yeah, so either they renew or they reapply.
or they reapply. So they're in an inactive status. I know we have even that designation, right? Right,
Yes.
because once you move into delinquent, you're sort of an inactive status. Okay, thank you. Phil, does that answer your question?
Yes, it does. And just one quick follow-up. Sorry, I'm not trying to grill you.
No, you're fine.
The canceled status,
Mhm.
does that number ever decrease, or does that end just continue to increase in perpetuity? If you've ever held a license in the state of California as a PA and you don't renew it, it goes delinquent, terms to cancel, it never goes away?
No.
That
it
end
doesn't.
never drops?
Oh, it goes up because once it's cancels after not renewing the license for 5 years.
So if somebody has a California license, moves out of state, never comes back to California, they're still going to show up there. So that number's going to continue to
It's going to
climb.
continue to climb.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yes. So we're going to just do, are there any comments on the floor regarding the agenda items A through G under item number 7? Are there any public comments on WebEx?
This is the moderator. If anyone would like to make a comment on the board activity reports, licensing complaints, discipline, probation, or diversion, you may look for the hand icon and click that to raise your hand. If you're on a mobile device, that hand icon might be behind the 3-dot other options. And if you're a call-in user, you may press *3 to raise your hand. Each speaker will have 5 minutes with a 30-second warning. Any comments on the reports? I do not see any requests for comment. I'll turn the meeting back to you.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. We're going to go out of order. It looks like our guest has joined us. We're going to move into agenda item number 11 with a presentation by Sandra DePalma. And the title of agenda item number 11, for those that are following, is Overview of the Physician Assistant Profession Nationally, PA Training, PA Practice Modernization Trends, Medical Malpractice Payment Reports, and a status update on California's application to the Rural Health Transformation Program. Do we have Ms. DePalma on WebEx? I'm going to do a quick introduction for Ms. DePalma and then sort of a quick disclaimer.
Yes, Ms. DePalma is on WebEx.
Okay. So just a quick bio of Sandra DePalma. Dr. DePalma is the Vice President of Reimbursement and Professional Practice at the American Academy of Physician Associates, also known as the AAPA. She has been a PA, healthcare leader, and professional advocate at the national and state levels for over 20 years. Dr. DePalma is an expert on healthcare policy, reimbursement, and PA practice, is a regular speaker at national conferences, and is award-winning author of peer-reviewed articles, clinical practice guidelines, and textbook chapters. Before joining the AAPA, she was an assistant director of advanced practice at Penn State Health and a past president of the Academy of Physician Associates in Cardiology. She practiced cardiology for nearly 20 years and has advanced certifications in hypertension management. Sandra is also an adjunct assistant professor at A.T. Still University, Doctorate of Medical Science program. Dr. DePalma earned a Bachelor's of Arts from Mercyhurst University, a Master's of Health Science in PA Studies from Lock Haven University, and a Doctor of Health Science with dual concentrations in leadership and organizational behavior and fundamentals of education from A.T. Still University. She has a graduate certificate in the science of healthcare delivery and is experienced in healthcare management and quality improvement. I just want to, before we get started, Ms. DePalma, thank you for your time and providing expert testimony to the board. I just want to give a quick disclaimer that we are a public protection board. We are not an advocacy board. All information that you will present will be viewed through a public protection lens. So just want to make sure that we're clear before you proceed with your presentation.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you so much, and we look forward to your presentation. You may begin.
Great. And will you be able to share the slides?
Yes. Do we have?
Okay.
Yep, it's there. You should be able to see it now coming onto your screen. We can see it on our screen. Can you see it?
Yes,
Dr.
I can.
DePalma?
Thank you
Okay,
very
thank
much.
you.
The next slide. I was asked primarily to speak about the safety of PA-provided care, but I'd also like to provide a high-level overview of PAs, their training, education, certification, and licensure. There are currently about 190,000 PAs who practice in all medical and surgical specialties, all states and all settings, and with all patient populations. Across the country and in jurisdictions, they provide about 500 million patient interactions each year. And when they do that, they diagnosing, prescribing, treating, and managing medical conditions. Next slide. Like other professions, PA education, the certification process, practice requirements, and licensure are highly regulated. Every PA must have graduated from an accredited PA program, pass a rigorous national certification exam, and obtain a state license to practice. Next slide. And the intensive PA curriculum is modeled on that used in medical school. Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services has even acknowledged that that education is similar in content to physician education. And PAs often learn alongside medical students in both the classroom study and during their rotations. Also, about 90% of pre-PAs come into PA education with more than 2,800 hours of direct patient care before even beginning their PA programs. And then programs, as it has already been mentioned, are at the graduate level, generally include 3 academic years or 6 semesters, and the equivalent of 80 academic credits. During that time, there's 3,000 hours of education, including more than 1,000 hours of classroom instruction and over 2,000 hours of clinical practice experience. And then education doesn't stop at that point. Following graduation, PAs must maintain 100 hours of continuing medical education every 2 years to maintain their certification. Next slide. And that certification process is very standardized and rigorous. The national exam tests knowledge of medical conditions, their diagnoses, and management across all medical and surgical specialties. It also tests history taking, examination, differential diagnosis, diagnostic interpretation, pharmacology, and medical skills across all patient populations. Next slide. So PAs are educated, certified, and then licensed. And professional licensing, first and foremost, as you know, must protect the public. but it also needs to do so without creating unintended consequences, which could be limiting and innovation. Next slide. Unfortunately, many relatively unnecessary and even potentially harmful restrictions exist in PA practice laws. And that's because a lot of those laws were written early in the profession's history. And they were thought at the time to protect the public from what was an untested profession. But until recently, there really have been few studies that have looked at the impact of those laws on patient safety or assessed the potential for harm from those laws in decreasing access to care, increasing costs, and creating other unintended consequences. Next slide. And really, in recent years, the evidence for the quality and benefits of PAs has been overwhelming. And it led the Medicare Payment Advisory Commission to conclude that a large body of research suggests that care provided by PAs produces health outcomes that are equivalent to physician-provided care, and that the vast majority of studies find no detectable differences in quality or health outcomes. And for those who aren't familiar with MedPAC, this is a nonpartisan, independent legislative branch agency. And it provides Congress with analysis and policy advice on the Medicare program and for healthcare in the nation. And it is comprised primarily of physicians and public health experts. Next slide. That report from MedPAC and evidence from other studies had led 3 US agencies to publish a joint paper a few years ago, and they urged states to eliminate requirements for rigid collaborative practice and supervision agreements for PAs. And the agency noted that if this was done, if these were removed, Americans could receive more effective, high-value care if those statutory and regulatory regulations were removed so as not to impose administrative inefficiencies. And states were encouraged to modernize their practice laws. Next slide. I'm going to talk some more about PA practice modernization, and I want to make sure I'm clear on what it is and what it is not. It really is not a change in scope of practice, and I'll talk about that more on upcoming slides. Really, a PA's scope of practice is based on their education, their training, their experience, and their competency. And it includes the professional activities that they're qualified to perform. If anything, sometimes outdated laws arbitrarily limit what a PA's scope actually is. So practice modernization is really just removing unnecessary restrictions and administrative burdens that are problematic for PAs and are actually often problematic for physicians and other members of the healthcare team with whom PAs collaborate. And then modernization is also just ensuring that patients have access to care when they need it, where they need it, and that it's affordable and high quality. Next slide. Giving you a general overview of the country, really since the profession's inception, its training, its practice laws, its regulations have been continually evolving. And while PAs may, 40, 50 years ago, practiced under the direct or personal supervision of a physician, this is really by and large no longer the case. Even in states where they still use the term supervision, there's usually no requirement that a physician have any active involvement in any individual patient care. And so because of that, you've seen that in the last decade, 30 jurisdictions have moved away from laws describing the practice relationship as supervision, and most frequently describe it as collaboration, which really is more accurate in describing how PAs practice with physicians as well as other members of the healthcare team. Next slide. This data, I think, helps demonstrate how PAs practice in collaboration rather than with supervision. This was a national survey that was done very recently, and half of physicians said that they were never in the same room as the PA when the PA was rendering care. About a third of physicians reported being in the same room as the PA at least on a weekly basis. And when we look at this data, we know that more than a quarter of PAs work in surgical specialties where they're often in the same operating room as the physician at the same time. And so we think that that is accounting for that large number. If you look at non-surgical PAs, by and large, the vast majority of them are practicing medicine without the direct or personal supervision of a physician. So this is not something that's new. It's just the way that practice has been done in recent years. Next slide. Also wanted to mention that of the 56 jurisdictions that currently license PAs, 46 allow PA scope of practice to be determined at the practice level. So they do have some form of a practice agreement. The vast majority of them do not require a board or other regulatory agency to approve those for them. But we are seeing a growing trend of a removal of any practice agreement. And so the 7 states in the darker blue, they no longer require any practice agreement or any specific designation of a physician or specification of the scope of services that the PA performs, at least for the majority of PAs in that state. Some do have some exceptions for new graduates or PAs changing specialty, or for those who own their own practice. But the great majority in the state do not require that piece of paper or document. Next slide. I also mentioned that scope of practice on the previous slide is not scope creep. And this is compelling evidence for this. This was a researcher who looked at hundreds of thousands of Medicare fee-for-service claims. And they looked at the procedures that were billed and the prescriptions that were filled for PAs of those Medicare beneficiaries before and after the relaxation of scope of practice laws. And they found that there was no meaningful change in the general range of services provided or the medications prescribed after relaxing supervision and collaboration requirements. And the author, who was not a practitioner, a public policy expert, concluded that PAs do not change how they care for patients following the relaxation of scope of practice laws, and that this undermines any patient safety arguments that are made along those lines. Next slide. Give me 1 minute here, sorry. All right, we can also look at patient harm organization at surrogate markers of harm. And so these were several independent studies, all using different methodology, but all finding the same thing, that there were no increases in patient harm. And actually, there were often favorable improvements after relaxing scope of practice laws. And so one looked at healthcare amenable deaths, one at malpractice payment reports, and another at medical board actions. And I'll speak about all of those in more detail. Next slide. In full disclosure, I was the lead author on this next research, but I will also mention that it won the Journal of Medical Regulation Award for Distinguished Scholarship. And that was recognized for its objective scholarly contribution to the Journal of Federation of the State Medical Boards. And it was selected by the journal's editorial board, whose editor-in-chief is a physician. So we feel that this is very strong, compelling evidence. Also, Federation of State Medical Boards, as I know you are aware, that produces this journal, is the organization that represents medical and PA boards. Its whole stated mission is to serve as a national voice for medical boards, to support them, and to promote patient safety through high-quality regulatory best practices. And this research looked at PA state scope of practice laws and regulations and their effect on medical malpractice payment reports for PAs and physicians in the National Practitioner Data Bank. And we looked at this over 10 years. This data was used because the acts or omissions that constitute medical errors or negligence have been highly correlated with adverse patient outcomes. So this is already a surrogate marker that has been correlated to show harm. And federal laws, as you know, require that all malpractice judgments settled against a practitioner need to be reported to this data bank. So the premise was that if permissive PA practice laws represent a threat to patient safety, then we should see greater numbers of malpractice payments against PAs in states with permissive compared to restrictive practice laws and regulations. Next slide. And you'll see that excuse me, is not what we found. And instead, there were no statistically significant differences in malpractice in permissive versus restrictive states when we used kind of an arbitrary definitive cutoff of permissive versus restrictive. But we actually saw that the occurrence of malpractice trended to decrease with the more restrictive elements that were removed. And we also controlled for state apology laws, tort reform, and other factors that could have adversely attributed to any errors in our methodology. So we accounted for those. Next slide. We looked at some very specific elements in practice laws. So there was a highly significant decrease in malpractice payment reports for both PAs and physicians when state law allowed a PA to practice to the full extent of their education and training and didn't limit their scope to that of their supervising or collaborating physician. Two elements were associated with a significant decrease in malpractice for physicians without affecting PA risk or patient harm. So no change is actually very good. That just means that you could remove that barrier without affecting patient care. And those were allowing PAs to practice either in collaboration with physicians or without any formal statutory relationship, and allowing physicians to collaborate with an unlimited number of PAs, so having no physician to PA collaboration ratios. And then allowing scope of practice to be determined at the practice site without the need for the approval of a practice agreement, and not requiring a physician to be on site or in proximity to a practicing PA. Those had no effect for PAs or physicians, so no increased risk of harm. Next slide. And this study really illustrates that restrictive scope of practice elements can be removed without adversely affecting patient safety, and that creating a more permissive practice environment actually can lead to a reduction in malpractice for both PAs and the physicians with whom they collaborate. We acknowledge that the exact cause of this decrease is not known, but we hypothesize that allowing flexible collaboration to be determined at the practice site with the physicians who are more likely to be collaborative and receptive, it probably optimizes practice and efficiency and improves the overall coordination of care, thereby reducing risk. Next slide. This was another study by another group of authors looking at healthcare amenable deaths. And these are deaths that are preventable had there been access to high quality healthcare. And these researchers, their premise of the study was that if restrictive scope of practice laws for PAs are needed to ensure the delivery of quality of care, then relaxing those laws will increase healthcare amenable deaths. Conversely, if restrictive scope of practice laws are not necessary, then relaxing them will decrease these deaths. Next slide. And this study found that relaxing PA scope of practice laws led to statistically significant decrease, suggesting that these legislative changes do not lower the quality of healthcare. Interestingly, they found that these effects were even greater in rural areas and rural locations, and the authors concluded that relaxing scope of practice laws had a greater effect than even Medicaid expansion on preventable deaths. Next slide. That's some summary of the peer-reviewed literature, but there's also been states who have conducted their own reviews and summaries. And they found that modernization, like the research, does not compromise patient safety. And in fact, they found that it primarily increases workforce and system efficiency. New Hampshire, they were legislatively mandated to study PA licensing, scope, safety, and reimbursement. And they found that they all had favorable effects following modernization. They found no decline in safety or quality of care in their state or other states that they looked at when they relaxed or eliminated collaboration requirements. In 2025, the Massachusetts Health Policy Commission, they had an independent state agency that focused on healthcare system performance, and they issued a primary care workforce report. As part of its recommendation, it endorsed eliminating the requirement that PAs maintain any specific supervising physician or practice agreement. And they recommended that this really was needed to improve workforce efficiency and access in their state. Also, the other one that I'll mention today is North Dakota. They very recently did a retrospective review of the impact of removing physician supervision and the effects of eliminating a practice agreement in their state. And they found that 5 years prior to that change in legislation compared to 5 years after, there were no formal board action increases. And in fact, there was decrease in them, as well as a decrease in care-related actions. Also, no reported malpractice cases in that time. It is a relatively small state. And so that they felt that there was no effects on the quality or safety. And then interestingly, during that time, they found that their PAs practicing in that state increased 25% compared to the 5 years prior. And there is other published literature that shows that PAs are more likely to locate and stay in states with favorable practice environments. Next slide. Also, health policy experts have been weighing in on this. This is the Hamilton Project. Its mission is to produce evidence-based policy proposals to promote economic growth. And it's designed to do that through well-designed laws and regulations. And they published a report on scope of practice for PAs and NPs, and said that there really is no justification for restrictive scope of practice laws. And on their evidence, they suggested that efficiency, cost of care, and other factors could be made more favorable in environments where there's less restriction. Next slide. Also, Brookings published a similar recommendation, and they specifically looked at the limitations or ratios for the number of PAs to physicians. And they concluded that practice level decision-making about ratios should be done at the practice level, not by limiting it to any certain number. Also, interestingly, American Medical Association, their policy 35.975, also says that ratios for physicians to non-physician practitioners should be determined at the practice site, not in state law. Next slide. And so this is just a summary that this and other research all shows that these are the favorable impacts of improving access, improving quality, cost-effective care by removing these administrative burdens. Next slide. Giving you a little bit more of a national perspective, because of all of this evidence, we've rapidly seen practice modernization across the country. And now nearly 2/3 of states have what we consider either advanced or optimal practice environments, and 7 have optimal, which is equivalent or similar to full practice authority for nurse practitioners. This is also just at the beginning of this year, so there's many states that have introduced legislation. I think this number will be much higher at the conclusion of this year. Next slide. What that means, and I don't need to go through all of this with you, but we will be sharing this slide with you. We'll be sharing a packet of information, but it has foundational elements that remove ratios, allow PAs to practice in collaboration with physicians based on the needs at the practice level, direct pay for PAs so that PAs owning their own practice if they should wish to, or reassign their payment to staffing agencies. Also having a separate PA regulatory board, which you're already ahead the curve of, and other factors are weighed in there. Next slide. And then this is how the states are categorized. So on the next slide, I want to get into what this could mean for California if there were practice modernization. So next slide. California is currently considered a moderate state because there are 3 of 4 key foundational elements. Because of the practice ratios and because PA physician working relationships are called supervision, that is why it's still listed as moderate. And this is really an opportunity, a missed opportunity, but a great opportunity to get competitive advantage in terms of workforce adequacy with other states and to be able to meet the healthcare needs relative to neighboring states. Next slide. Fortunately, modernization would not be very difficult, relatively speaking. If California were to do either of these two, either remove the ratio of PAs to physicians with whom they can collaborate, or use the term collaboration to describe the working relationship, removing terms like supervision, under the supervision of, physician delegation. Either of those two would get the state to the advanced designation. Next slide. And then once achieving advanced, then it could be optimal by removing the legal tether of a PA to a physician, and then also authorizing direct pay for PAs. I will say that, yes.
Mr. Palmer, let me interrupt you for a second. This all sounds like policy argument, which I'm wondering why you're addressing us rather than the legislature.
I was asked to give an update on what the PA practice environment was and also the Rural Health Transformation Program, and this factors into the Rural Health Transformation Program.
Again, that is policy.
Transformation Program, if you'd like.
Yeah, that would be great, Mr. Palmer, if you can just sort of tie that into that, because I think California has submitted an application for that program. Is that correct?
Certainly. If you advance several
Well,
slides.
hold on. I would like, hold on. I would like an answer to my question. Why are you addressing us rather than the legislature?
I was asked to address the board here on these issues
By whom?
by the board.
So, Mr. Palmer was asked to come and provide an overview of what's happening around the country with PA modernization, which she's done, I think, a really good job at that. I do, though, to Mr. Almenta's point, we are not an advocacy board, right? We're a public protection board. So, I just want to make sure that as the presentation is sort of winding up here, that we're just focusing towards the tail end of the agenda item, and I think that's the RHT program, right?
Yeah.
So I just want to make sure that we're on, because we don't want to give the indication that APA is advocating. We're not an advocacy board, but again, focusing on public protection. So I just want to make sure, Mr. Palmer, that as you proceed with the rest of your presentation, that you're taking that into consideration.
I'd still like to answer my question. Who invited you?
I just said I invited her to present.
Thank you.
And yes, my intent was not to be advocacy focused. It was intent to give background information on the Rural Health Transformation Program, but I will definitely keep the comments specific to the Rural Health Transformation Program. So all 50 states received funding under the RHT. Half of the funding was distributed equally among all states, and then the other half was based on factors such as ruralness, other capacity factors, and the practice environment for the workforce. Next slide. This is a breakdown of the Rural Health Transformation Program amounts based on rural resident, largely nonpartisan, and largely related to its component score on the various factors that were submitted, including workforce. And that was why I was speaking of the regulatory environment. Next slide. And so that's where there would be an opportunity for additional funding for all states under the Rural Health Transformation. It gets recalculated, the funding each year. For the next 4 years, there is an opportunity for financial incentives to advance those practice laws and environment. And so the last slide is, I guess this is the last slide, and I'll leave it at that. Happy to answer any questions.
Thank you so much for your presentation. Are there any questions or comments from board members?
I'll have some comments after Ms. DePalma's finished.
Okay. Any comments?
A comment.
Yes.
Just a thank you, Dr. DePalma, for coming and presenting the whole scope of the PA practice and giving a review to everybody about where PAs come from, our education, etc. It was nice to see where we are from a healthcare landscape, from a state-wise process, and also to know a little bit more about the rural health program and how we could benefit from it, because this has, I think, board implications in future for us as a public protection board. So thank you again for coming and giving us a very nice comprehensive overview of PA practice.
You're most welcome.
This is Board President Deanne Kidd. I would echo those comments as well. Really appreciate you taking the time to give us a panoramic view of what's happening across the country so we can be better informed as a board. And just to be clear, as you know, the board is permitted to hear testimony to educate the board on a wide variety of issues related to the profession. So just want to make sure that everyone's fully aware of that. We can invite folks. The board has done this in the past. I remember such a time as the board invited Dave Mittman, who was the president of the AAPA, to talk about optimal team practice, which is very similar to some of the things that Ms. DePalma brought up today. So thank you again, Ms. DePalma, for providing this resource, and we do thank you for your time. Are there any comments from the floor? Yes.
Yes, I have a couple of comments, actually. Number one, I want to say how much I appreciate this board, and that's the truth. Because you provide for public safety, you lend validity to what I do. I can point to you and say, they support me, and they regulate me, and they pay attention if I do something wrong, and that gives me validity. Honestly, it does. The other thing a couple other things I would like to say. Back in another career many, many years ago in the 80s, while I was in graduate school, the first time in my life, I worked for Delta Airlines. So I was a bag guy, the guy that threw the bags and drove the little carts. And back in those days, we did not have TSA pre-check. What happened then for security to get on an airplane is the people at the local station, the airlines paid the security to do the job. And each security was responsible to the airlines in that station. As such, we were allowed to test them to see were they truly safe. And I would volunteer quite often to do so because it was just fun. You got to carry a metal, either gun, not real, grenade, fake, and try to get through and see if you could get through. 70% of the time, I got through. And for years and years and years, we believed we were providing safety. The airlines is responsible for this. And we, for years, thought we were providing good public safety. And then 9/11 occurred. And it put a glaring light on the fact that we were not providing good public safety when we believed that we were. So I would encourage the board to always ask yourselves, are we really providing safety, or does it look like we're providing safety? The next thing I would like to tell you is this. Another thing that happens in my practice regularly is I'm in psychiatry and family medicine. And occasionally, it seems that we will get insurance companies that say they don't want to, you can relate, they don't want to cover a medication that I am asking for my patient. And this is what commonly happens. The nurse will be on the phone with the insurance company, and they'll say, Sonny, they don't want to, they say they're not going to do it. And I say, give me the phone. And let's say I have someone who has schizophrenia, which is a terrible illness. And they say, oh, Mr. Klein, we're not telling you how to practice medicine. We're just saying that we can't cover this. And I say, I understand completely. I just need to know your name for the chart. And they say, I'm so sorry. What do you mean? I said, I just need to know. I'm not mad. I'm not angry. I just need to know your name for the chart so I can properly document that this was my medical recommendation and that you are the one, I need your name, that denied this medical recommendation. The second I say that, the decision changes because I'm treating people who are psychotic. And I say, and I even have said, when my patient becomes psychotic and shoots up a mall and it goes on the Today Show, my record will reflect that I tried my power to do everything was right. And it will also reflect that you denied that. Immediately, the decision changes and it's suddenly approved. Why? Because the person making the decision was now held accountable for their decision making. And so what I would say to you is, as she discusses these things and the removal of these things and all that stuff, what I have learned is when you hold an individual solely responsible for their decision making, they make better decisions because they are going to have to answer for them. That's just my opinion and what I would say about all this. Does anyone have any questions about anything I've said? Again, thank you for what you do. You offer validity to what I do.
Thank you. Are there any additional comments from the floor? All right, Madam Moderator, do we have any comments from WebEx?
Let's find out. And this is the moderator. If anyone would like to make a comment on the presentation, you may look for the hand icon, typically located at the bottom of your WebEx screen. If you're on a mobile device, that hand icon might be behind the 3-dot other options. And if you are a call-in user, you may press *3 to raise your hand. Each speaker will have 5 minutes with a 30-second warning. Any comments on the presentation? I do not see any requests for comment. I'll turn the meeting back to you.
Thank you so much, Madam Moderator. We really appreciate that. And Mr. Palma, again, thank you for your time. I know you're currently at a conference and probably presenting. Again, we appreciate that well-informed, comprehensive look at what is happening across the country. Again, thank you for your time and have a great day.
Thank you.
All right, with that, we probably should take a bio break before we move on with the rest of the agenda. I think we're probably going to be done in about an hour or so. And so we'll go ahead and move forward. We'll go ahead and adjourn for now. We'll come back in 15 minutes.
Well, are we closing this topic? Because I do want to make some comments on this.
Okay.
I don't know if any of you read the tariff decision. I rarely agree with Neil Gorsuch, but his words were absolutely on point. And in tariffs, he wrote, it's important for the nation to impose more tariffs for those who think is more important. Today's decision will be disappointing. All I can offer them is that most major decisions affecting rights and responsibility of the American people are funneled through the legislative process for a reason. Yes, legislating can be hard and take time. Yes, it can be tempting to bypass Congress when some pressing problems arises, but the deliberative nature of the process was the whole point of its design. That process, through that process, the nation can tap into the combined wisdom of elected representatives, not just one faction or man. The deliberation tempers impulse, compromise hammers disagreements into workable solutions, and because laws must earn broad support to survive the legislative process, they tend to endure, allowing ordinary people to plan their lives in ways they cannot when the rules shift from day to day. This hits home to me that the area of policy is not our area. I've advocated this position before. We are a public protection board. And what I heard this morning sure sounded a lot like, let's do policy change. I'd point out a couple of things. This study that was presented ties into medical malpractice, which has very, very little correlation to quality of care. Very few cases where the quality of care or a complaint or discipline should be imposed result in a malpractice case being filed in the court, nor does it result, and even less so, to a judgment. One of the things that happens if you remove a practice agreement, now you've changed the standard of care, right? If I think a PA did something bad and the doctor is on the hook for it too as a supervisor, one of the pieces of evidence I'm going to look at to present is that practice agreement as a standard of care that had to be met. In the states where you get rid of that, that standard of care is gone. So it's no surprise that there's not a big correlation here. The other point I would make about that presentation is I've read it. I don't know if any of you had. I actually printed out and read the thing. The list of limitations on the study is extraordinary. The gaps in evidence that they even admit. Number two, it concludes there's no real change, right? If you get rid of practice agreements and all this, you get rid of the restrictions. Well, if there's no real change, why should we get rid of one of our primary protection tools in the practice agreement? That makes absolutely zero sense to me. But the bottom line is this stuff, again, belongs to the legislature. It is not our area. Our area is public protection. Thank you.
Are there any additional comments from board members? All right, so we will move on to adjournment and return in 15 minutes. So I have 9:52 on my time. So let's try to return right around 10:10. Does that sound good to everyone? All right, thank you so much. All right, we will call the meeting back in order. I think we're at 10:10. Ms. Rowe, Ms. Hurd, could you please call roll?
Juan Armenta, Eric Bergensen,
Present.
Philip DeVizio,
Present.
Diego Nzunza,
Here.
Vasco Diankid,
Here.
Bhavna Prakash,
Here.
Deborah Snow,
Here.
Willing Sai.
Here.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. We have a quorum. So we're going to proceed with agenda item number 8, Department of Consumer Affairs, DCA staff report.
Can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Good, okay. Well, good morning, board members. My name is Judy Bucciarelli from DCA Board and Bureau Relations. Thank you for the opportunity to join your meeting today and to share the DCA update. Before I begin today's update, on behalf of the department, I would also like to recognize and thank member Edwin Perez, who separated from the board last month. His service and dedication to protect California consumers is greatly appreciated. My first update is regarding DCA's executive team. I would like to share that Chief Deputy Director Christine Lowey has been named the Acting Director of the Department of Consumer Affairs. Christine entered this role in January of this year following Director Kimberly Kirchmeyer's retirement at the end of December. Director Lowey brings extensive experience to the position, having served in multiple leadership roles within the department since 2013. She will lead DCA in this position until a director is formally appointed by the governor's office. Next, I have some information on renewal fee postponements. Last year, Governor Newsom took action to assist licensees who were impacted by the LA fires. He swiftly issued an executive order to allow a one-year postponement of license renewal fees that were due between January and June of 2025. Last month, DCA began sending notices to licensees who chose this postponement option with a reminder about the one-year postponement and renewal fee due dates. DCA licensees with license types in the BREEZE system can pay these renewal fees through their online accounts. Those with license types not in the BREEZE system may submit their payment via via mail. Next, last year, Governor Newsom released his proposed 2025-26 state budget, which included a proposal to split DCA's oversight agency, the Business, Consumer Services, and Housing Agency, into 2 state agencies, the California Housing and Homelessness Agency and the Business and Consumer Services Agency. After public hearings and review by the Little Hoover Commission and the legislature, the governor's reorganization plan was enacted on July 5th, 2025. The new Business and Consumer Services Agency will be responsible for consumer affairs, licensing, and enforcement, and the Department of Consumer Affairs will be one of 8 departments in this new agency. The 2 new agencies will officially become operative on July 1, 2026. DCA continues to participate in multiple agency work groups on the logistics required to transition the new agency, and will continue to keep board and bureau leadership informed throughout the months ahead. Next, I have travel reminders. To best serve the public, it is incumbent upon all of us to ensure that we are being fiscally prudent in our decisions, especially when traveling for board business. DCA would like to remind members and staff to evaluate if a rental car is always necessary versus ride-sharing services. Carpooling is also highly encouraged when renting vehicles. We know that there may be due travel costs board members are experiencing as well, such as baggage charges, so please keep receipts to ensure that you can be reimbursed. Next, DCA would like to provide a reminder about Form 700, Statement of Economics Interest Filing. This form must be filed within 30 days of assuming office or leaving your appointment and annually by April 1st. This year's annual filing period covers the prior calendar year, January 1 through December 31st, 2025. This year's filing deadline is Wednesday, April 1st. To ensure compliance, DCA requests that Form 700 filers complete the e-filing by Friday, March 20th. DCA board members must file their Form 700 through the Fair Political Practices Commission, also known as the FPPC, through their online portal. Paper filings will no longer be accepted. You should have received an email from the FPPC with instructions on how to file your annual Form 700. Should you have any questions, please feel free to contact Board and Bureau Relations via email at memberrelations@dca.ca.gov. And next, I have a couple training updates for members. Unconscious bias training. DCA's training unit has developed unconscious bias training specifically for board members. This training will be incorporated into the onboarding process for all newly appointed board members. Tomorrow, there will be DCA's annual President's Training. It will be from 10 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. This virtual training is for board presidents and vice presidents and serves as a forum to share best practices for presiding over a board. You may register online using DCA's learning management system. So I do want to add, if you want to attend and you haven't already registered for tomorrow's training, you can still do that by close of business today. And once your registration is accepted, you'll receive an email and a workbook that you'll need for the training. And next is an update on board member orientation training and the dates for this year. BMOT is an all-day virtual training that DCA will offer on April 1st, June 24th, and October 21st of this year. The training must be completed by board members within 1 year of appointment or reappointment to a board. If you have not completed this training, please register for the first available date to ensure compliance. Board members can register for this training by accessing DCA's learning management system. If you have any questions or need assistance with these trainings, please contact us at the memberrelations@dca.ca.gov. In closing, I would like to thank all of you for your dedicated service to protect California consumers. This concludes today's DCA update, and at this time, I'll turn the floor back to President Kidd, and I would be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you so much for that awesome presentation. Really appreciate that. Are there any questions or comments from board members? Hearing none, are there any comments from the floor? Seeing none, are there any comments from WebEx if we have any participants?
We have one left, and this is the moderator. If anyone would like to make a comment on the DCA update, you may look for the hand icon, typically at the bottom of your WebEx screen, or if you're on a mobile device behind the 3-dot other options. Any comments on the DCA update? I do not see any requests. I'll turn the meeting back to you.
Thank you, Madam Moderator, and thank you for your presentation. All right, we're going to be moving on to agenda item number 10, report on the Medical Board of California activities. Dr. Tsai.
Thank you, Mr. President. The Medical Board of California met on December 4th through the 5th in Emeryville, California. Some of the highlights included the Breeze complaint online update form update, where if you were to file a complaint, now the process is entirely electronic, same as license renewals. All licensees of the California Medical Board are now only available to renew online. So that streamlines the process. One of the interesting things about the enforcement data that we saw today, California's medical board of California received 9,707 complaints last year. Of those, 2,600 were submitted inappropriately, which meant that they were redirected to other agencies. So about 6,000 complaints were filed on the California Medical Board website. Of those 6,000, 1,100 were referred for investigation. Lastly, I think one of the things on the horizon will be a long COVID education collaboration between the medical board and the PA board. As you may be aware, in 2024, AB 3119 was enacted. And the bill requires that the Medical Board of California, the Osteopathic Medical Board, and the Board of Registered Nursing and the PA Board to consider including in their continuing education requirements a course specified specifically in course in infection-associated chronic conditions, including but not limited to long COVID. I think at the last medical board meeting, there was a lot of interest in providing medical education for long COVID. As you are aware, long COVID is still a nebulous entity that we don't know much of information about. There are several specialized clinic affiliated with tertiary care centers that specialize in long COVID. But for the rest of the general healthcare delivery practitioners, there's still a lack of insight and education on the subject. So I think on the horizon will be something that we can collaborate with and provide CMEs for this type of training in long COVID. And that concludes my presentation.
Thank you so much, Dr. Tsai. Greatly appreciate that. Are there any comments from board members regarding Dr. Tsai's presentation? All right. Are there any comments from the floor? Seeing none, are there any comments from WebEx?
This is the moderator. If anyone would like to make a comment, you may look for the hand icon and click that to raise your hand. And each speaker will have 5 minutes with a 30-second warning. Any comments on the report? I do not see any requests for comment. I'll turn the meeting back to you.
Thank you, Madam Moderator, and thank you, Dr. Tsai, for that report. Moving on to agenda item number 12. I think we're going to defer this agenda item to the next board meeting. Is that correct? Or are we going to or is Ms. Dillon going to provide us an update on that?
Update, yeah, we're
Okay.
deferring it.
Okay.
Hello, good morning. So agenda item 12, this item will be tabled until the next board meeting because staff is working on mapping out possible requirements to update the online Breeze application within the department's Office of Information Services Breeze team. And staff plans to bring this item back to the board for possible action at the May board meeting.
Thank you, Ms. Dillon. And I would think, looking at agenda item number 13, we don't have any regulatory or legislation to view. At least I didn't see anything in the packet. Is that correct, or do we?
That is correct. There's
Okay.
there's no material.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, I was okay. So then, well, thank you. Are there any comments regarding tabling item number 12 by board members? Any comments from the floor? And any comments from WebEx regarding agenda items number 12 and 13?
This is the moderator. If anyone would like to make a comment on the regulatory topics, you may look for the hand icon and click that to raise your hand. Each speaker will have 5 minutes with a 30-second warning. Any comments on the regulatory items 12 and 13? I do not see any requests. I'll turn the meeting back to you.
Oh, I didn't go over agenda item 13, sorry.
It's okay with it.
Apologies.
So agenda item 13, update on pending regulatory packages. Well, the first package, license renewal and continuing medical education required, I said will be tabled until the next board meeting. And then the next package listed is the application, exam scores, addresses, and records. This package is on our website for public comment. However, there was an inadvertent error in posting and mailing, and we are consulting with the Office of Administrative Law to determine how long the public comment period will need to be extended to correct that error. It was supposed to be posted this last Friday, but it is up on our website as of right now. And then the next package titled Retired Status Updates and Return Fingerprint Requirement. The board reviewed and adopted proposed revised regulatory language to continue the rulemaking process at the November 17th, 2025 meeting. Staff is working on finalizing the initial documents with Regulations Council and will be filing the notice with OAL in the coming months. The next package listed is implement uniform standards related to substance abusing licensees and update of disciplinary guidelines. Staff is working on the proposed language for board approval this calendar year. And finally, the Section 100 technical cleanup and statutory fee changes package was filed with the Secretary of State on January 8th, 2026, and became effective upon filing. And that concludes my update.
Thank you. So no action from the board on any one of those? Okay. Any comments from the board members? Seeing none, any comments from the floor? Madam Moderator, any comments from WebEx? I think we might still have one participant on WebEx.
We do. This is the moderator. If anyone would like to make a comment on the regulatory update, you may look for the hand icon and click that to raise your hand. Each speaker will have 5 minutes. Any comments on the update? I do not see any requests for comment. I'll turn the meeting back to you.
Thank you, Madam Moderator, and thank you, Ms. Dillon. Appreciate the update. All right, we are moving expeditiously through the agenda, and we might make record time today. So we're on agenda item number 14, report by the Physician Assistant Training, Accreditation, and Workforce Development Committee. And I would love to see some volunteers on that committee. I think I'm an army of one. So if you have an interest in being a part of that committee, I would more than really appreciate that. There are currently 321 nationally accredited physician assistant programs in the United States. Of those, as you've heard earlier, 20 are located in California. I'm pleased to report that none of the California PA programs are on probation. There are a handful of provisionally accredited programs, and there are about 4 developing programs in the state. Geographically, California's PA programs are distributed as follows: 15 in Southern California, 4 in the Bay Area, and 1 in Central Valley. The current annual enrollment capacity across the 20 California PA programs is well over 1,000 and approaching 1,100, with an average of 53 students per program. With planned cohort expansions, the estimated total annual capacity is projected to be over 1,100 enrollees in the upcoming academic year. This will conclude my report. Are there any questions by board members? Hearing none, are there any questions from the floor? And are there any comments from WebEx participants?
This is the moderator. If there are any comments on the report, you may look for the hand icon and click that to raise your hand. Any comments on the report? I do not see any requests for comment. I'll turn the meeting back to you.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. Ms. Dillon, I think we have you back up for agenda item number 15, report by the Legislative and Regulatory Affairs Committee.
So the last day to introduce bills was Friday, February 20th, and we do have some bills that I discovered last week, but because materials needed to be posted for the board meeting at least 10 days prior to the meeting, I will need some more time to analyze those bills, so I will be bringing those to the next board meeting for discussion.
Sounds great. Thank you. Any comments from board members? Seeing none, any comments from the floor? All right, seeing none, any comments from WebEx participants?
This is the moderator. If anyone would like to make a comment, you may look for the hand icon and click that to raise your hand. If you're on a mobile device, the hand icon might be behind the 3-dot other options. Any comments? I do not see any requests. I'll turn the meeting back to you.
Thank you, Madam Moderator, and thank you, Ms. Dillon.
Thank you.
Okay. Moving on to agenda items agenda item number 16, agenda items for the next meeting. Are there any suggested topics for discussion at the next board meeting? Rosanna, board members, please feel free to chime in. Any specific topics or things we should consider for the next board meeting outside of our regular agenda? All right, hearing none. Any comments from the floor? Yeah, yeah. Yep. Mhm. And are there any comments from WebEx participants?
This is the moderator. If anyone would like to suggest a topic for a future board meeting, you may look for the hand icon and click that to raise your hand. Each speaker will have 5 minutes with a 30-second warning. Any suggestions for topics? I do not see any requests. I'll turn the meeting back to you.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. So this will adjourn our open portion of the meeting. We do not have a closed session. If I'm looking at my time, it is 10:30 a.m. and we are done. So I would like to thank everyone for their engagement and input and for being very participatory during this board meeting. And I look forward to the next board meeting where we can all reconvene again. Thank you, everyone, for your time and for your public service. Thank you.
And this is the moderator. This meeting